Hello, guten Tag und grüß Gott. Today is Sunday, May the 1st, 2022. Wow, nearly a month has gone since my last video because that was on April the 10th, so a lot of things have happened. So the first thing that I want to talk about is I thought maybe I want to talk about the Ukrainian war right off the bat because it's probably the most pressing and the most important issue of the time. And by the way, I also want to make sure that your viewers here understand that I have my wife Marge here. Keep an eye on me, right? Say
Right.
hi, Marge. Anyway, so a couple of events that I want to go over with before we get into the more serious part of this. First of all, I wanted to show you something new here that I acquired. It's called The Most Brilliant Thoughts of All Time. There you go. Most Brilliant Thoughts of All Time. So I'm holding that up now so that you can actually, if you want to become more brilliant, maybe you want to look at this and see, whether the thoughts inspire you to be more brilliant. But I'm skeptical, okay? And some of these thoughts in here are, from the old days are a little bit remote and they may be a little hard to understand. But just remember that what I'm doing here is simply my opinion on everything, and I'm just enjoying making these videos, So here, some of the most brilliant thoughts, and when I look at this page that I selected at random here, it comes from the 1500s, 1700s, 1800s, and some of the names you recognize, and they're simply like one or two sentences of thoughts. And I'm glad that somebody decided to put this together, but are these the most brilliant thoughts? Who knows? So here we go. A guy by the name of Thomas Fuller, who lived in 1654 and all the way to 1734. And I don't know who he is, but evidently he was somebody that history recognized. And he said that some have been thought brave because they were afraid to run. So, you can chicken out in war or someplace, hide, and you may be called brave, huh? Okay, next one is, "'Tis not the drinking that is to be blamed, but the excess." Yeah, guy by the name of John Selden. "Fanaticism consists of redoubling your effort when you have forgotten your aim." I don't know. But a guy by the name of George Santayana, who's also dead, 1863 to 1952, said that, "When you have forgotten your aim, solemnity is a device of the body to hide the faults of the mind." I suppose that's brilliant. I don't know. Well, somebody that you'll recognize a lot more. Men's evil manners live in brass. Their virtues we write in water. I can understand that, and I kind of agree with that. We soon forget, the good things that people have done, in many cases. After all, we're tearing down statues,
Who said that?
That's William Shakespeare. Okay? Very good. Thank you for keeping me on track here. Oh, Sam Johnson, Dr. Samuel Johnson. He lived from 1709 to 1784. "Almost every man wastes part of his life in attempts to display qualities which he does not possess and to gain applause which he cannot keep." That's fairly wise, huh? "All passions exaggerate. It is only because they exaggerate that there are passions." I'm not so sure that that's right on there. A guy by the name of Chamfort said that. But here, Benedict Spinoza, we know that name. An emotion ceases to be a passion as soon as we form a clear and distinct idea of it. Huh. So passion and pursuit are kind of kindred spirits, aren't they? Huh? Though pride is not a virtue, it is the parent of many virtues. A guy by the name of John Churton Collins said that. Well, pride is still celebrated, isn't it, here and there, in all kinds of communities. Humility is a virtue all preach, none practice, and yet everybody is content to hear. I like that. Yeah, John Selden again. A pious man is one who would be an atheist if the king were. A pious man. In other words, a pious man is a follower, huh? Okay, Ralph Waldo Emerson. That which we call sin in others is experiment in us. Huh. Okay. Well, crapola. So much for, the most brilliant thoughts. But, I'm going to resurrect that again. But I actually want to talk about some events, that occurred this past week, even though we've been over, nearly a month, since the last video. I went to visit with my sister and brother-in-law. And that was really important to me because for a couple of years I've not seen them. And I have, because of the pandemic and so forth. And this year we're not going to travel up north. And normally when I drive up north, I stop by and see my sister, and it's good because we're all getting on in age,
Well, we're traveling up north. It's just we're flying.
Yeah. So this year we're flying up north, and consequently there was no opportunity to actually visit unless I make a concerted effort to do so, which I did. Well, it was wonderful. Mike is Mike and Heidi is Heidi, and we relived some of the events that have happened to us over the years, which was great. And we talked about different things we heard. In fact, Heidi commented on my videos. Mike also commented on the videos. I think he hated them. But, I love Mike. And if you happen to watch this, Mike, I think you're a cool guy. And, your thoughts are often very appreciated, because we have really good conversations. And we decided, normally we go out to a restaurant, Heidi's favorite restaurants, or Mike and Heidi's favorite restaurant, someplace either for breakfast or for dinner. And we didn't go anywhere, We had Mike's famous chili, and he's really good at making chili. So, with not just regular beef, but also steak, good cuts. And so, we talked about what is really chili, and that in the South, people think, that if you put beans in chili, that's not chili or something. Or maybe it's meat that you put in it. But one of these ingredients is missing, so yeah, I think it's beans. So there's some regions of the country, that chili just doesn't have beans, But I like beans in chili. That was really good. So it's good to have dinner then, and I had breakfast. And then I struck across, from Lodi to San Francisco and stopped for a visit with an old friend named Kathy Evans. And that was a good visit. And we commiserated about all the pains and aches that we have as age overcomes us. And just for the record, she is the wife of a very good friend that I knew from the early 1960s. We started at U.S. Steel together, Marv Evans, and he had passed away, and then it's been more than a dozen years that he's been gone, so that's been rough. So, I spent about an hour or so with a visit, and then, the long journey home. And, I can report that it was mostly uneventful, But I found out in San Francisco, the EV lanes handle a little bit different. They have you either have an EV car or a couple of people or two or three people in the and then you get to use the fast lanes. Yeah, but they also did one more thing, and that is if you have fast pass, you can get on that lane and you can pay for it. So they post the amount that you pay between cities. But that helped a lot because to get through San Francisco is kind of a bitch. And I want to tell you this: what I've noticed about this trip is that America's economy is in full swing. In fact, Marge and I, the last time we drove through there, we lamented the fact that the orchards were withered. That no planting was being done. All of that has changed. There are now new seedlings in for grapes. There's, trees. Everything is green, and signs are everywhere bitching about Governor Newsom. Keep don't cause a dam drought. That kind of thing. So. And the dam, is that double entendre of, hey, build more dams instead of, letting the water just run into the ocean. And if you build more dams, then it becomes available for farming. And let's face it, the San Joaquin Valley is nearly a breadbasket for the United States. Anyway, so things are growing like gangbusters. And of course, the other thing was trucks. Oh my God. Highway 5 was loaded with trucks, they were always in my way. And you know what? Trucks are supposed to go, 55 or something? Oh, no. You have to go like 75, in order to keep up with them. It's crazy. And I was telling my wife when I got here in the evening, so it took, I don't know, how many hours does it take? 7-8 hours, to get here from San Francisco. When I got here in the evening, I said to her, this is really peculiar. I kept my car, mostly at 72 because that's efficient. I drove a Hellcat, 700 horsepower, Hellcat, both ways. And, it's a remarkable car because around town I get like 11 miles to the gallon. And the state of California, hit me with what they call gas guzzler tax. But on a highway, I get 25 miles to the gallon, and that's more like an economy car. Here, a 700 horsepower car. Yeah, I guess the economy cars are now getting 50 and 60, right? But in the old days, 25 miles to the gallon was really fantastic. So anyway, yeah, so I was telling her that, I keep my car at 72 because that's kind of efficient, 2 miles above the highway speed limit, which is 70 on 5, yes. And there were cops out here and there, and some of them there were people being pulled over. But from time to time, some electric car like a Tesla would go by you at 100 miles an hour, But anyway, so I said, it wasn't until L.A. where I was speeding because she says, I watched you drive. It was 80 miles an hour. I said, yeah, that happened in L.A. because in L.A. everything is much faster than out there on the highway. So as soon as I came toward the city, 70 miles? No, you had to go 80, in order to keep up with traffic. And, rarely do I know the Hellcat can go, from 60 to 150 in just a few seconds, but I haven't done that. Anyway, so much for the story of that trip. It was wonderful. I was glad. I was telling Marge, as I get on in age, I'm more aware of, when it's, who's going to be next. There's so many people that have passed away, even for you, right? I mean, in your high school class, you're notified all the time, that somebody has died. But yeah, your high school class had 2,000?
Something like that.
Yeah, it was thousands, so it's more likely that you hear something here and there. And I think for my high school class, I only know of one person that's alive. Of course, we're only like 12 people, so, Go Hornets, Green Valley Hornets. Okay, so that was that. But another event that happened just yesterday is my wife Marge, Honey Bunny here, has a Tesla Plaid. Okay, I think I've talked about the Tesla Plaid, but you think the Hellcat has 700 horsepower is a big deal. No, the Plaid has 1,000 horsepower. So anyway, she belongs to the Southern California Tesla Club that has almost 2,000 members worldwide. Worldwide, they're an international organization. Anyway, they had a meet, so we met, and I've got a bunch of photographs from that, and we met some people. And what you do is you just talk to people, and there was one guy with a Tesla that had a motor sound, sounded like a Hellcat, and it really, as he was accelerating or backing up, it sounded just like he had, the speakers were really good. He had a really good engine in it. And then, of course, he really tricked out that car, with hydraulic lifts and so forth, so when he parked the car, the car just kind of sank down with a sigh, right down. There was no space underneath. You couldn't even get a mouse under it, so it's funny. And there were all kinds of cars, with rapping in the Tesla community is really, really popular. And so there were people rapping, for instance, one guy I remember, he had a license plate that said yellow fever, and of course the car was wrapped in yellow, so it was really, really kind of cool. So
and then we went to lunch.
Yeah, and so then it turned out that we went to lunch at a fancy restaurant in Newport. Yeah, so we basically came from the north part of Long Beach or so, all the way to Newport, and had lunch at a place called, what was it, the Tavern House.
Mm-hmm.
Tavern House Kitchen and Bar. Anyway, it's a restaurant that Marge remembers from when she was a teenager, right? Hanging around here. Oh, in her 20s, the bar scene type, anyway. So, and so this restaurant has gone through a few ownerships and has been called things, that nobody remembers anymore, whatever they were called. Do you remember that Duke's was called Maxwell, though? Yeah. Anyway. So, sometimes even old people remember shit, so there you go. So we went there had a really great lunch, and Marge had struck up a friendship with a young lady there. We met her husband, and it was really interesting because they're from the entertainment business. So Marge and she had a lot to talk about. Her husband is a audio editor in what was it, The Restless?
Young and the Restless.
The Young and the Restless. Yeah, he edits all of their audio. So it was interesting to talk to him about what he did, and fascinating character. His father played the trumpet for Doc Severn. Played the trumpet for the orchestra that accompanied Frank Sinatra in Las Vegas. Yeah. As a matter of fact, he was a really good friend of Frank Sinatra Jr. They hung out together and everything, but Frank and Frank Jr. are both dead now. So anyway, yeah.
But mom
was a violin player for Doc Severn. That's the one. On the Tonight Show. Doc Severn and his orchestra, with Johnny Carson. I mean, those of you who are a little bit older, you might remember Johnny Carson. And I don't know whether Doc Severn played for Jay Leno, maybe not. But anyway, I think he went on tour. Doc Severn was really a famous jazz orchestra conductor, right? But I think he played the trumpet too, didn't he?
I don't know what he played.
I think he played something. Well, conductors are mostly musicians in their own right, so anyway, yeah. So, if you pull up some old videos, you might actually see this guy's mom fiddling, because she was a fiddler right next to Doc Severn. And he showed us a little clip of it, So my son Patrick, and he really had a great discussion about audio editing, and the importance of, all the stuff that he uses. And so he works for, the people that create that soap opera, which is, he works there, 5 days a week, Anyway, really nice people. We met some others. And so we come to the end of the lunch, and the people that organized, Will and Marty, that organized this event, and kind of reserved things for lunch there, so that we had enough room, there were probably a good 15, 20 people there. So
there were 20 people at the lunch and some 1,000 people at the exhibit.
Yeah, and that sounds about right. So the lunch was, we didn't really know this, I mean, I didn't know it. Maybe Marge did. That it was to thank Marty and Will for it was an anniversary, right? Like 4 years or something like that.
6.
6-year anniversary of the Tesla Club.
Oh, 4-year anniversary of the Tesla Club. Their 6-year wedding anniversary.
Oh my God. Okay, so see, now that's why I need you here, because I get this right then. So anyway, so it was to a lunch. So it turns out that one of the guys there said, his name was Chris, and Will announced or did Marty announce? One of them announced the fact, that Chris is going to pay for lunch for all of us. So here we were prepared, probably maybe $100 lunch for us, because this was an upscale
Patrick
place.
Came.
Yeah, and my son Patrick came, and so there were the 3 of us eating high-end lunch. Frankly, it wasn't all that good, was it? Except, I have to say that the clam chowder that I had was really good. The Caesar salad was, the ingredients were fresh and all that was okay. It's okay. So that's how we wound up the day yesterday, and so that was very nice. So I think we're into practically, I'm going to shift gears now because of the Ukraine and current news. And the reason I want to talk about current news is, whoever watches these videos and looks at the date, and it was 22 and so forth, you can probably find videos, about all the subjects that I talk about, and you can see, what has gone on. But what you can't find, unless you watch my channel, is my opinion on it and how I felt about it, and that kind of thing. And that may be of some value to some relative in the future, Yes, I think that may be of some value, because I want to bring you the zeitgeist from my perspective. You can get the facts and everybody else's perspective, the media's perspective, just on the internet. You'll be able to look back, and say, oh yeah, in the 1920s, the flappers, you can find all about it. But you'd have to find a flapper that you really knew at that time, that experienced that, to get the real experience. And here's your opportunity. I know you can't ask questions, but you can make comments, okay? And by the way, I see that all the YouTubers always say, hey, the first thing they say, hit like, and then what is it? Subscribe, and then the bell, so that when my video is up, right? Yeah, well, do those things. Okay, so let me get into some of the headlines here, because this is now a stack of Wall Street journals, from 3 weeks or so. So back on, the weekend when I did the last video, we had, the same reporting all the time, that the Russians are sending rockets, they're killing people, and the Ukrainians are refugees, and but they're not a lot of them are dying, which is kind of interesting, so. For instance, I said that before, that some sort of an apartment complex gets hit, and 3 dead. I don't. Do they know that the missiles are the Russians sending missiles into empty places? Anyway, so evidently, the town of Mariupol is under siege, and the Russians have changed their strategy. They're not attacking Kiev anymore, or they call it Kiev or whatever, so much. They do send rockets in, but they don't attack that very much. And they decided, the Donbass, which is the eastern region, and the southern region, they want to keep the Ukraine away from the Black Sea, so they don't have any ports and stuff like this. So they're focusing their attention to that. And it's kind of interesting that the Russians just couldn't just walk right into that and, have a blitzkrieg, and that didn't blitz for them. So here's something interesting that I found in the Wall Street Journal, and that is a former Goldman banker is convicted. And what he was convicted of is plundering billions of dollars in Malaysian sovereign wealth from a fund. Yeah, so they convicted this guy, and I don't know whether he's going to serve any. But what's interesting about it is this guy's name is Roger Nig, N-G, spelled N-G. So,
Eng.
how do you pronounce that?
Eng.
Eng? N-G, Eng. Anyway, I just couldn't get from N to G without an I, so anyway. So yeah, they convicted him. Now, this Goldman Sachs, okay, who was supervising this guy? There's got to be a hell of a lot more to this story, and that's the reason I bring this up, because I have a feeling we're going to hear more about this. A new virus outbreak corners China's Xi. Now, Xi is, of course, the president of China, or the premier of China. I don't know, emperor for life, because he's now elected for life. Anyway, so after 2 years of relying on broad, hard-edged lockdown controls of COVID-19, Xi decided to do something a little different in Shanghai and decided to lock down only the neighborhoods where they have a lot of cases. Okay. Well, that turned into a fiasco because all of a sudden Shanghai, COVID is spread through Shanghai, and they had to lock the whole damn thing down. So, that was not such a good call. But, the Chinese are also sensitive to the fact that any lockdown, just kills the economy some. So it makes sense that they would be touchy about that kind of thing. So, Christians around the globe gathered to observe Palm Sunday. And that was actually when I did the last video, was Palm Sunday, wasn't it? On the 10th, I think so. Anyway, Ukraine, Russia rearm for a new front. And I just talked about this, that they're kind of pulling away from Kiev, and not attacking from the north so much, but, elsewhere. In the Donbass region, where they have a little more friendly reception, because a lot of Russians evidently live in the east. And then, of course, they do want to keep them, cripple their economy, by doing their shipping ports, So the city named Mariupol, evidently, that's a port city, and there's a big steel mill there. And they're really concentrating on that. So here's interesting, Twitter says Musk now won't serve on the board. So it turns out that Musk has bought a chunk of Twitter stock, like, 19%. That's a huge stake. And, they expected him to be a part of the board member and so forth. And Musk says, Ixnay. Okay. So that was on April 11th. So evidently there's a lot of stuff going on in the schools, with mask mandates and not mask mandates, vaccinations and stuff like this. So there's a story right here that says some Democratic voters are frustrated with parties' COVID policies because they're they're all over the place and they're starting to back Republicans. So I'm thinking, the Democrats may just be in for a little bit of a shellacking in this particular election in the fall, the midterms, the midterms. And in France, the battle between Le Pen and Macron for presidency of France, is going on. And here are pictures of them. And Le Pen is the conservative. And of course, what they're hyping is she's a friend of Putin, Yeah. I don't think she's a friend of Putin anymore, I don't know whether he has any friends left. Shit. Anyway, and the Ukraine calls for more aid ahead of the battles in the east, so the Russians kind of slowed down everything and they regrouped and now they're attacking the east. Interesting here, one of the parts of the sanctions of Russia is that they're sanctioning what they call the oligarchs. These are the people that basically walked off with all the money. They're the billionaires, of the Russian state. After it collapsed, back in 89 or so, I think I've talked about that before. The people that ran the large companies and so forth, they just kind of took over ownership, never given ownership of the company so the economy could keep running after the collapse of the Soviet Union. Anyway, so there is this woman called Elvira Nabiulina. She spent 8 years of modernizing the Russian monetary policy by forging bonds with global markets. And in the past 6 weeks, she took apart much of what she had done. So, so here's a woman, that built all the bridges with the West, financial bridges, and now she has to undo them because, we have the Ukraine disaster. So how about this? Gunman attacks riders in New York subway. There's a guy that threw in some smoke grenades and then started shooting, and didn't kill anybody, but he shot up a bunch of people. So here's the headlines. But also you'll notice that it says that inflation hits 40-year high, reaching 8.5%. Wow, okay. Putin says that talks have reached a dead end. He vows to fight on. And this has been my sense of the Ukrainian war, is that, that Putin will, which is not going to give up. I don't think there is an exit strategy for him, really. I don't know how it's going to happen, but you also got to wonder, whether the exit strategy is actually known by the leaders of the world. I'm a little suspicious. And I found this kind of interesting. Guitar fans pull strings to snag scarce amplifier tubes. So here's the thing. As a matter of fact, Dean, the guy, was talking about that they're always trying to find that perfect sound. The recording artists, sometimes say, oh, raise the microphone a little bit, oh, tweak that a little bit. Okay, here's the latest thing, is they're looking for the sound that is produced by amplifiers with vacuum tubes. And of course, they're hardly available. So it's a worldwide panic. It's kind of like the rebirth of vinyl records. Holy crap, What's old is now going to be new. Vinyl records. I remember a time, when I took Patrick to piano lessons. There was a lady in a shop. She had stacks and stacks of vinyl records that she was hoping somebody would just take them. Ultimately people did, but nobody wanted them. And now there are record stores of vinyl records. You go to Borders or, one of the bookstores, that have a vinyl section. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Oh, here's a cool picture. So U.S. to boost security aid for Kiev. Well, What does that mean? I guess they're going to give them more armaments, for Kiev. But, how are you going to stop these supersonic missiles, that the Russians have? And the Russian oil output weakens and undermines the growth engine. This is a global supply issue right now. But I just want to put this picture up because you can see a Russian tank. Anyway. Okay, I'm seeing that Marge is wilting a little bit. So
I want to get to the part where you tell who won the French election. So go on.
Well, it's in there.
Okay, I'm waiting.
Okay. Let's see, what else did I have here? Oh, this is fascinating. Yeah. So here's a little tidbit. Says gum banning Singapore now has a sticker problem. Now you might say, what is a sticker problem? Okay, the Singaporeans are really proud of the city, and they, and the gum banning. I have to take you back to a time. It's been now a few decades ago. Some American tourist, spit gum on and they'd arrested him. And they punished him with 40 lashes or 70 lashes with a caning, And the world was outraged, a brutal punishment over spitting out gum. Yeah, they don't tolerate this. But now they have a sticker problem. Okay, the sticker problem is this, is that, they give out stickers, that say you've been vaccinated so you can walk in the store, because they take this stuff seriously. Well, the people are taking these stickers off, and posting them everywhere. And now these stickers are showing up on the walls, showing up just kind of like graffiti, And then now they got a problem. So they're looking for people who left them there, because they don't tolerate that kind of stuff. Okay, here's the thing, is we've now come to Easter. And this is actually a picture taken on the inside of Notre Dame as they're rebuilding it. You see that? Oh, man. The Notre Dame, of course, was burned down accidentally by a Muslim, a Muslim worker that was working on the thing, and they had to do some restoring on Notre Dame, and a fire broke out and almost destroyed the entire church. So here's a headline that says Twitter makes a move to stop Musk. Okay, so what is the move? The board wants to have the board members, stop Elon Musk's influence, or buying, because Elon Musk has said, okay, so I'm not joining the board, but I'll buy the company, okay? Buy the company. Well, for $45 billion, right? So crap, $45 billion. Well, he's worth like 200 and some billion. It depends on what the price is, of Tesla is, so it's crazy. So what they call this stopping Musk, taking a poison pill. In other words, what they will do is assign themselves shares, at a much lower price, so they can dilute the entire share price, and by creating, a billion more shares, and then that'll reduce his influence. I'm not sure exactly how that works, but it's supposed to be a poison pill. The investor does not like that, okay? Because he's buying X number of shares for so many dollars, and then all of a sudden, the board is awarded, a few hundred million shares, if that's what they do, called the poison pill, which they can do that after the deal goes through. Now his stake is worthless, because instead of having, let's say, 100%, all of a sudden he winds up with 10% because there's all that other stock out there. I think that's how the poison pill works, but correct me. Just in time for Easter, bunnies are multiplying. So they're having a problem in Florida because the bunnies run away from the kids. Kids get bunny for Easter, the kids. And what I do remember is that Australia had a huge problem with bunnies a long time ago. Now I think they solved it by introducing some really badass snakes and poison toads and things like that. So they I don't think they have a bunny problem anymore, but they did have a bunny problem. I don't know why they just didn't eat them all. They're good. Really. Anyway, so another thing that's going on is Disney is whipsawed over stance in Florida. So the Disney company is really, really kind of fucked up. And what they did is they made the CEOs made a statement some time ago saying, well, Disney is not getting into politics. So when they enacted the what is it, the Parental Protection Act or whatever they call it, which is no education about transgender and gays and stuff like that up to grade 3 or something, so that the grooming of kids doesn't happen, because how interesting is this? I was born a boy, maybe I can be a girl. You know what? I feel like a girl, actually. You go to the teacher and say, you know what? I really feel like a girl, and so then the teacher, pays more attention to it. Oh, you poor kid, or you great kid, you've found your identity, and they start grooming these kids. And that's what the parents have been objecting to. And I may not have that 100% right. There's probably more nuance to it. But nevertheless, the transgenders and gays in Disney, gave the CEO a bunch of lip over that. Hey, you got to take a stance on this law. This is no good. It's antisocial and whatnot. So Disney came out and said, we're going to fight this law and stuff like this. So the Republican governor DeSantis says, well, screw you, Disney. You've had a good ride here being treated very special. You're your own cops, and all that kind of stuff. So when Walt Disney negotiated the property for to establish Disney World, they got a lot of tax breaks and a lot of autonomy. They're not subject to taxation or oversight or anything like this, like the rest of the state. So that's now disappearing because the Disney company has taken a stance on this. So here you go. This is going to cost them a lot of money. Not only that, they pissed off a lot of parents, because we always look at Disney as a family-friendly place, and I was actually thinking about a visit, but now I've got a bad taste in my mouth over this, with Disney. We thought about going on a cruise maybe, with Disney, because we think that they're doing the best job of the cruise lines. But I'm not so sure anymore. I think companies got to be, or the CEOs got to be a little smarter, And there's that saying, go woke and go broke, So that can happen. So Mariupol in the Ukraine rebuffs Moscow's call to give up. So Moscow basically surrendered Mariupol, the city, and said, hey, you guys got to surrender or we're going to kill you all. And, the people in Mariupol, especially in the steel mill, that is evidently riddled with tunnels and whatnot, that the Russians can't possibly get everybody there. And so they said, well, fuck you very much, but we're going to stay. So Russia just kept increasing, building their forces, for a new phase in the east. But here's something interesting. Now in Dubai, Passover celebrations. This Easter was a conjunction of things. There was Ramadan, there was Easter, and there was Passover all in one weekend, basically. And so here, Dubai, they're having Passover celebrations. This is crazy, isn't it? I mean, Jews in the Arab world being allowed to celebrate? It's true, because the Jews are actually saying, the Jewish community in Dubai is saying, we're a small Jewish community, and it's been established for a while. And they're availing themselves of the law, that calls for non-discrimination of religion. So, if Arabs can't be discriminated against, so the Jews cannot. So the presence is actually visible, like it's not been before, Maybe small community, but they're getting to celebrate Passover. So here's the thing. Headlines on April the 15th. Musk offers to buy Twitter as a company mulls the poison pill. See? There he is. The company is mulling the poison pill. Yep. And of course, the liberals in Twitter, that have been, throwing out all the conservative comments as lies, right? And ban Trump. They're outraged, oh, I'm going to leave Twitter. But also mortgage rates climbed to 5%, the highest more in 10 years, so the Ukraine war and what's happening in the world with COVID and whatnot is just not letting go of us, So everything is going up. Inflation at 8.5%, as you just saw, and mortgage climbed to 5%. Our mortgage is only 2%, so that's a good thing. So Russia finally launches the offensive in the east. But I'm going to show this headline also because, you know what? The Boston Marathon is back on. Okay, there they are. So get this. Brian McManus, an insurance adjuster in Baltimore, is looking to relocate to Philadelphia and wants to act fast. Why does he want to act fast? His deadline pressure isn't related to any new job or lease. The 20-year-old wants to get his living situation in place before what? Before Mercury goes into retrograde. Okay? I mean, this is stuff on the first page of the Wall Street Journal, right there. See it? I circled it, X'd it. And the reason that they're so pissed about this is that we have 3 retrogrades of Mercury a year, but this year there's a 4th one, and it's sending this community of, of believers into a tizzy. So the additional unfavorable period has people postponing flights, marriages, and meetings. Okay. Now Marge and I, after Patrick was born, we had his horoscope developed, didn't we? There was somebody that did his horoscope. Well, maybe we ought to pull that out and dust it off and take a look and see whether there are certain times that he should be doing something or not doing something. I wonder whether he's affected by this retrograde. And, retrograde just means, that Mercury appears to move backwards, because it kind of overtakes our own procession around the sun. So, yeah, everybody knows this. But another thing that's happening here in the notice is that homeowner groups are fighting investors' push into suburbs. And, in our particular area, we've also been talking about this. The Homeowners Association doesn't want all of the homes to be out for renters. Because renters are not exactly the kind of people that should be in the majority and possibly make policy, for the owners, and they also don't behave as well. But the renters don't have the vote. It's actually the owners do. Problem is, enforcing rules and regulations on renters is a little more difficult. So the Ukrainians flee to eastern cities as the Russian units press ahead, but they're pounding the crap out of them. It's always the same thing. Well, for something really interesting here. So let me just read this a little bit, So like others starved for human contact, Benjamin Arnett and Maria T. met online. They found each other through the word game Words with Friends. That's an old-time Scrabble online competition that in the lonely days of lockdown drew new players, looking to socialize and maybe fall in love. The game, more than a decade old, enjoyed something of a revival in the COVID-19 era, connecting word nerds around the globe. Arnett, a 24-year-old janitor in rural Kansas, said he and Maria played together every day for about a year. They were eventually matched. Maria took her turns. Go to page 9. You've got to listen to this. Took her turns quickly and never quit midway through a contest. So Maria was a really good sport, right? Always ready to play. Mr. Arnett sent messages over the game's chat function, hoping to get to know her a little better, but Maria never responded. He figured she didn't know how to use the chat feature or she was too shy to answer. Then Mr. Arnett learned Maria wasn't being straight with him. An online post revealed a list of usernames that allegedly belonged not to people, but to software programs known as bots. So he was trying to date a bot. And among the suspects, there was Maria T., with whom he had hopefully, already had a relationship, basically, hoping to meet her. When will it be that we will not know the difference between friends and bots? This guy didn't. Okay, you've been waiting for this? Macron, Le Pen face off ahead of Sunday's French election. The debate. Le débat. Le débat. There they go. Okay, Russia presses Eastern Front as West sends Ukraine arms. So here we go again. Now get this. Tesla's profit hits record as it looks to boost the output. Guess what happened? Stock tanked. Shit. Russia claims Mariupol victory as Ukrainian troops hold out, and they still don't have Mariupol even today. So, So there's going to be a show on called The Northman. And Viking experts help Robert Eggers recreate hazy past of the Northman. Filmmaker plunders history, recast 10th century pillage life. But you know what? They call him the Northman, not the Vikings. But it's the Vikings experts, the historians that have to help him gather all the facts on this. But he won't use the word Viking. I'm not sure why that's so racist or whatever, Anyway. Hackers get bolder in crypto. So there was this company called Beanstalk that was a startup. And during the startup, as they were setting up their cryptocurrency and stuff like this, somebody went in and stole 182 million's worth of digital assets. So stole meaning that, they basically got a hold of the wallet. And so these people can't use that currency, That's sad. Okay, you've been waiting for this, right? Macron defeats Le Pen to win new term as French president. But you know what? It was close. It was close. So I don't know much more about it. But if you have any questions, we'll have to dig into this. But Macron won. He's really happy about this. But you know what? That means that he's going to have to please the right a little more, So Le Pen, if this happens again, she may just walk away with it if he doesn't listen to the people now, Twitter, Musk in talks to strike a deal. How about that? So Musk is actually going to get a deal, maybe. Here's an interesting thing. So the oligarchs, as I mentioned before, are getting punished. Their assets are being seized wherever they can seize them. But there was one person there called Alina Kabeva that the U.S. government believes to be Putin's girlfriend and the mother of at least 3 of his children. And in last moment, they decided not to sanction her. Maybe it's smart, because that's sanctioning too close. So, U.S. seeks to weaken Russia to deter future aggression. That's kind of an interesting headline, because this may very well be the case. That it's possible that the reason we're not sending supplies fast enough and stuff like this, in the hopes of dragging this on, that the Russians have to deplete their resources. That could be a strategy. But the most important headline right on top says, Musk strikes deal to buy Twitter. Yep. So he raised the financing for $44 billion, according to this. I think it wound up, as we said before, $45 billion. And he's buying Twitter. Now, here's also saying that Russia says NATO is fighting a proxy war with rising risks. So, of course, Putin doesn't like it, that the Ukrainians are getting supplied, so he's talking about, you keep doing this, you may be initiating World War III, because the Russians have nukes, But as long as we don't invade Russia, or the U.S. doesn't invade Ukraine as such and starts to fight with the Russians themselves, they really don't have a good reason. But, a first strike is something that could happen. And of course, Elon Musk pledged a more hands-off approach to Twitter. And that is it's causing the Democratic legislators, some sort of getting apoplectic about it, because, maybe Trump will come back on Twitter and he'll give him all kinds of shit. So the EU vows to fight Russia's gas halt because it was, Putin shut off the gas to Poland and somebody else.
Germany.
And Germany? Oh, crap. That's not good. But that's in the retaliation for them sending stuff, so, yeah. Anyway, U.S. economy shrinks, but spending stays strong. And it's kind of what I saw there, in my trip from San Francisco, is spending, to me, the economy looked like it's rolling, And, like when we went to the Tesla event, this was a normal event, right? Lots of people there, a lot of easy ups and so forth. So menthol cigarettes face a FDA ban. Government now gets into menthol cigarettes, So, I don't know. What I see here, if the government bans menthol cigarettes, guess what's going to happen? They're going to be produced, sold on the black market, and a lot of nefarious characters are going to make a lot of money on it. It's just like banning a liquor. You start banning smoking altogether. You can ban smoking in certain areas and stuff. That's okay. Because there are other places for people to smoke. But if you ban smoking altogether, well, then you've created a black market. Now, at least we didn't do that yet, but they're trying to do this. Somebody's really stupid with this menthol stuff, And of course, the reason is, it's more attractive to people and whatnot, that kind of thing. So here's an article that says, Shadow Crew encouraged Musk's Twitter takeover. And evidently, there were a lot of billionaires actually that were behind this because he raised the financing not just from his own Tesla stock, but from others as well. And one of the bigger ones, is actually the ex-chief executive, Jack Dorsey of Twitter. He was forced to resign by the board, and he's unhappy about this whole thing. So we've now done the longest video that we've ever
Really?
done. Yeah, I can't wait 2 or 3 weeks for a video. I got to do this every week or so. But nevertheless, I want to bid you farewell. And if you had the courage, to actually watch this whole video and so forth, and give me a thumbs up and a like and a bell,
Bell.
and a subscribe. Well, good for you, or not. That's okay, because these things are going to live on forever on the internet now. I'm a YouTuber, so to speak. I bid you farewell, and may we infect the universe with us.